Sunday morning, I've got to say something about that fight last night, the whole event. Haney Garcia, I'd had enough of the build-up, to be honest. Thought it was over the top at times, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. But I want to talk about the boxing and unpack the boxing a little bit. The sport, like any other sport, to be honest, has got top performers who are all elite in their own way, but there's different types of elite boxer. And Devin Haney's a worker. He makes the best of his attributes. He works on marginal gains, his fitness, his footwork, the little details. He needs everything to go his way to perform and to be the best. And he's proven in a very young career. He's only 25, 26, and he should not be written off because of this one fight. But he's the type of boxer who gets the best out of himself due to his preparation, his dedication to the sport. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got Ryan Garcia, who is such a naturally talented boxer with such heavy hands, such fantastic fast twitch fibres and technique and skill, and the ability to naturally deliver punches that end fights or change the course of fights. And yet, obviously, he has a different sort of dedication. Don't for 1 minute think that the guy doesn't go to the well time and time again when it comes to training. You can't be at that level of boxing without having put in the hard yards. But he's put in different hard yards to Devin Haney. He definitely ain't focusing and obsessing over the details as much as Haney does. His preparation probably does leave stones unturned, and without a doubt the guy mentally is not always on the same wavelength, whereas Devin Haney is always dialed in. He is always dialed in, whether he's training, whether he's preparing for the fight, whether he's speaking with the media, whether he's in that ring. He is always dialed in, with a one exception. And that one exception is that I think he's been put on the back foot and he's been distracted. I don't think he's taken the fight lightly. I don't think that's in his makeup. But I think what's happened is he has just been distracted by the madness of Ryan Garcia. And that's where there's a link between the build-up to the fight and the boxing itself. The boxing itself, he got buzzed very early, very heavily, got his jaw broken. I think that's pretty clear. And he just looked gun shy because he was really worried about what was coming back, and he really struggled to physically manhandle Garcia. And that's a big part of Haney's game, is his physicality. He was huge against Prograis, stepping up to 140 against theoretically a bigger guy, and yet he was the bigger guy by far. He was massive, and he imposed himself physically and athletically on Prograis, and he wasn't able to do that with Garcia. So then it comes down to your boxing skills, and the boxing skills and the attributes that each of them have are very different. Like I say, it's his jab, his footwork, the breakdown of his technical, of all of the little components that make a great boxer. Haney's got, but he hasn't got an equalizer. He definitely doesn't carry enough pop. He can hurt top level fighters, but he doesn't carry devastating power, devastating speed and power the same way that Garcia does. And that was ultimately the difference in the fight. He was winning rounds. He probably won 8 rounds, but when Garcia had success, it was earth-shattering success. It was jaw-breaking success. It was fight-winning success. And on the eye test, speaking to my son George, who boxes, this morning about it, he's like, "There's no way that was a close fight, Dad." And he said, "It's not amateur boxing." And I said, "Well, it's not amateur boxing, but it's scored the way that professional boxing is scored." And Haney won a lot of rounds, so it was a close fight on the cards. But on the eye test, who won? Garcia by a country mile, because he hurt Haney time and time again, and he hurt him with amazing shots. And it wasn't just that left hook; it was the right hand, but it were different shots, like little sneaky shots on the inside that just seemed to clip Haney and just impact him in a way that I've just not seen happen before. It was absolutely phenomenal in terms of the damage that he was able to do with different types of attack. So what a fight! What a spectacle! What a talking point! Like, anyone who loves boxing will be like, wow. I mean, no one saw that coming. Like, I kind of pride myself on being able to call fights with some kind of logic behind them, and I reckon I get quite a lot not too far off right. But I didn't say anything about this fight, partly because I'd almost switched off because I just felt like Garcia was going to get wheeled off in a straitjacket at times, which, yeah, we'll come on to in a minute. But no one saw this coming. No one saw that happening. No one saw him winning the decision either. I mean, there might have been one or two out there said naturally because of Garcia's power and the quality of that left hand. There were people probably out there who said, I suppose he could win if he catches. He's got a puncher's chance, and he could catch Haney cold or catch him just off guard with one that he doesn't see. And that's the only chance. But he just dominated. He beat him up. He beat the shit out of Devin Haney. There's no two ways about it. And no one expected that. And I'm amazed. I'm still a bit gobsmacked, to be honest. As regards the situation with Garcia and the way he's handled himself, I mean, it wasn't nice to see the way he was conducting himself prior to the fight. I do think it was all a game. I think it was two things. I think part of it was well planned out to distract Haney, and part of it was Garcia having to get himself into a mindset where he was full on warrior mode, like full on, I'm having this. This is going to be a tear up, and I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to stand there and trade and take shots and land shots and have a war. I think he felt like he needed to get himself into that mentality. I've got to be honest. There's a fair bit of Duran in the way that Garcia has been this last, in the build up, and to be honest, in some ways in the fight as well, because he's got that kind of pure superstar talent. But I would want to separate this. Like, it makes it very watchable. Car crash stuff, really, which isn't great in many respects. Some of the stuff he was saying, to people in the crowd in the press conference, it was just, it was vile, to be honest. But if it was all a game, then fair play to him and his team. I think Bill Haney and Haney's team probably need to have a long look at whether or not they exposed Devin Haney to this too much and they didn't deal with it. Because to go in there 3.5 pound overweight and to just allow that to play out, and ultimately Haney's now damaged goods. There's no two ways about it. Can he bounce back? Of course he can, but he's damaged, massively damaged, and they put him in that position. And I'm not sure, when you look at protecting fighters, whether they've done the right thing. As for Garcia, I've got major concerns about that kid's well-being. I really do, because I don't think even he knows what he's doing. And he's one of those who seemingly needs to be right on the edge to be in any way competitive. And if you're on the edge like that, at such high stakes stuff, I'm not sure mentally that's great for you in life in general. So I am concerned about that. It's not my job to be concerned about him, but as a father and as someone who's looking to try and pick out the way you should conduct yourself to be a good person but also a successful boxer, it doesn't sit with me very well. But like I say, no one's really going to care about the sensible approach, are they? No one's really going to. There's a lot of the world not too bothered about thinking about Ryan Garcia's well-being. A lot of the world are just thinking about the entertainment, and to be fair, what he's produced and what boxing has produced, the sport of boxing, everyone who's responsible for that event, the two fighters, everyone, that is just box office, absolutely box office. That fight will go down in history as one of the biggest shocks, biggest surprises, biggest talking points, most seminal moments in the sport's history, and certainly in this decade, for example. Absolutely phenomenal event. I'd like to say I'm still gobsmacked by it. What else do I want to say? I want to say Haney showed a lot of heart and showed exactly what we would expect from him, to stick in there for as long as he did. To stick in there for the 12 rounds. I did think the referee kind of saved him in the 7th. I felt like if the referee, I felt there was a knockdown as well. I felt that he was knocked down again. He was caught with a really sneaky short shot inside, and then he sort of fell in instalments forwards, as if he'd been dragged down or he'd lost his footing or whatever, and it was called no knockdown. But I thought he was saved, to be honest, in that round, and yet he fought all the way to the 12 to the bell, and actually, as I said before, it was a close fight on the cards. But my God, I was just gobsmacked by the whole thing. And like I say, I'll go back to it. I talk about Garcia in the same breath as a Duran. He's never going to be. There's few, if anyone, as great as Duran. But he has that edge. He has that Latin American edge. That couldn't give a fuck mentality, that not entirely sure whether or not he knows what he's doing situation, that I think everyone can see. He's a little bit, you look at his eyes and he's not all there, and yet what an instinctive fighter, what a naturally gifted fighter, what a fantastic ability to land, incredible power, incredible technique. And yeah, just like he beat Luke Campbell. When he beat Luke Campbell, I thought this kid is special in terms of his talent. When I saw that fight, I remember thinking, because Luke Campbell was a top world level fighter, not an elite fighter, but a top world level fighter who was going to be a hard night's work for anyone, even if he wasn't, a full world champion. And he probably didn't quite get to the very top level of the sport. He was a fantastic acid test for Ryan Garcia at that stage in his career, and he was phenomenal in that fight. I think he got dropped, but he showed his vulnerabilities, and there's a lot of vulnerabilities in Garcia, which is one of the things that makes him so exciting. But the way he finished the show that night, I just thought, wow, this kid has got an incredible ability. And then since then he's been lost, hasn't he, for lots of different reasons. So look, final comments. Haney can come again, but he's damaged at the moment, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him to come back. I don't know whether Garcia. I don't think Garcia will be messing about down at anywhere near Tank's kind of weight, because he obviously needs to be at that 143, 145, 147 territory for the weigh-in, and walking in the ring about 160, 165 probably last night. That's where he's dangerous. He looks most dangerous. So he ain't going backwards, I wouldn't have thought. Could see Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia being an absolutely unbelievable fight. I think the styles gel, and the build-up would be ridiculous. And you can start to think about the likes of Crawford after seeing that last night, although I think Crawford is just too far ahead of everyone in the sport, including Garcia, for that to really happen. But you never know. And yeah, Haney can come back, but he's going to have to rebuild. He's going to have to be a step-by-step methodical process, just as his whole career has been. He's going to have to be managed really, really well. And like I say, I feel like they could have done a better job of protecting him with the benefit of hindsight. And yeah, how good is boxing? Not necessarily the example that I want to see young people given, or the kind of behaviours that I want to see them value. But what I can definitely say is the boxing last night showed itself to be absolutely spellbinding as an event. Blown away, absolutely blown away. Yeah, I'm just going to stare into space for a little bit now because I still can't get my thoughts completely. What a fight.